I'm basically talking to you, but you don't understand or you don't care.
There you go.
You definitely understand.
I understand this now. Boy, get in there.
Welcome to Revisit It. It's basically
Fighting.
It's basically a reply like those girls used to do before YouTube was like, nah, none of that.
That's so great.
Bruh, it was a terrible time for the YouTubes. So we're today talking about, I don't even know the dude's name.
It's Oceaniz, Ocean A-A-Z.
It's something with the ocean.
Yeah.
It's something with the ocean, talking about Golden Wind, JoJo Part 5, and the brilliance of it. And we didn't like Part 5.
At all. Well, not at all.
It's the worst JoJo part.
Absolutely.
By far. And, you know, a lot of people love it, and good on them. But as far as brilliance, I'd like to see where he's going with this.
Yes. Nothing against this dude. We don't know him. I've seen like 2 videos of his, not particularly in my type of channel. But nothing against him. We may call him a bum or an idiot or whatever. That's just the way we are. Because I gotta assume it's an hour and 14 minutes. Gotta assume there's some stuff that we entirely disagree with. So we don't know this dude. We got nothing against him. It's just his opinion that we're reacting to, and his thoughts, and him, because we don't like him.
Well, let's just start it then.
I'm so nervous.
Why? Okay, Oceaniz.
Yeah.
What makes a story perfect?
Oh no.
This
Oh,
question
no.
Oh, we
is
already here, huh?
interesting, especially considering that absolute perfection doesn't really exist. You will always be able to find flaws and issues to nitpick in literally anything. I
Pause.
think that the
I was
answer
just
to this
about to pause it.
You already going nitpick, so you're already going, okay, flaws can be nitpicked, but you just saying that if there's a problem, you're nitpicking it. No, you're looking at a problem and going, this is a problem. That's not particularly a nitpick.
I feel like people conflate nitpick and criticism so much these days. Where anything you criticize, if somebody likes something and you criticize it, you're nitpicking. Again, I always bring up this example. There was this guy that was talking vehemently about Star Wars, and he was talking a bunch of good stuff and a bunch of bad stuff. The nitpick he had was Luke was drinking milk. When has eating or drinking ever been a focus in Star Wars?
Never in Star Wars did they ever make a point of having the characters be hungry or was eating ever a central thing. And twice on the island, we saw Luke fish.
Oh, right.
And then he milks a giant lactating sea moose and drinks from it. And Chewie, and I don't know why Rian Johnson hates Chewbacca so much, but the only thing he made him do was almost eat a porg. That's all he did. And again, it was just played out for jokes. The whole thing on the island, the beginning part of the island, was terrible. Yeah.
That is a nitpick. That is just criticism for criticism's sake. There's nothing there. Who cares if he's drinking milk? If
he started flying, is that, and you go, wait, he can't fly, is that a nitpick?
And they go, the Leia flying scene, I don't understand how the Force works in that. That's not a nitpick. That is just criticism now. You can't combine everything he said into a nitpick. You have an example of an actual nitpick and an example of actual criticism.
Admiral Leia now?
Yeah.
Her flying through space.
Terrible.
My brother was okay with that, I guess, because like she's using the Force and she's never used the Force before.
I know, but Leia has never even shown she has a connection. The only thing we know is what we know, right? Where she's had a connection to it before. She knows when somebody dies and she can feel this sort of thing, right? She's Force sensitive, as they would say. She's on the spectrum, if that's more 2017. But Leia has never been this thing, and she was godlike. Yeah. So she went from nothing to being a god.
All criticism is not nitpicking.
We're almost 4 minutes in and he has not said JoJo once.
We're 30 seconds into his video. We had to pause it.
Oh no.
and therefore becomes pretty personal and will vary from person to person. For me, a story is perfect when it sets up.
I pause. This library, this is so pretentious.
Yeah, and I also don't like the words popping up. I feel like that's going to be a motif where he's going to be like, Giorno is not boring, and then boring is going to flash on the screen.
Or just in red letters or
yes.
gold letters.
Oh, dude, I can see this already.
Thematic and narrative goals and achieves those goals both elegantly, passionately, and convincingly. While I obviously look out for things like depth, consistency, meaning, etc., the core of what I really want out of a story is for it to have a purpose and fulfill that purpose as well as it can. And when a story does that with such skill, passion, and confidence that I'm willing to overlook the minor issues every story will naturally have, that's when it becomes perfect for me. Today, I would like to discuss one.
So is good things outweigh the bad things to the point that you don't notice the bad things? That's what make it perfect for you.
I think it's more of like the good things are so good that those minor bad things can be overlooked.
But what if they're major bad things?
They shouldn't be overlooked. But he's thinking that the problems of JoJo Part 5, just from, what I'm getting so far, the problems of JoJo's Part 5 are so small that they don't, they're outweighed by all the greatness that was in it.
How many times do you think he's going to say theme in this?
Theme or thematic? This is an hour 14. 42.
It's going to be a lot. And we
also,
can't.
This one story thing,
these words flashing up. There was this, I don't know if you know him, but there's this dude that critiqued Star Wars, and he did like a 6-hour critique of the Last Jedi. Yeah. His name is Mauler. He did a video like this, making fun of this very thing. And he did it so straight-faced that it's hilarious to see it now.
Call of Duty as a series was now on its last legs by revealing the healing system and several other innovations within the game to be something that barely any of us could consider fun, even if making it fun was technically the sound response, in my opinion.
And Part 5 is, indeed, a work of fiction I consider perfect by my standards.
Paused.
Now, he says by his standards.
And he's already given up what his standards are.
So that's fine. I wish he could see this and respond to us, because I know there's going to be some stuff. There's inherently going to be some stuff where we're like, no, absolutely not. Especially once he starts getting into King Crimson.
Or the characters outside of like 3
and
characters.
And it's an hour 14.
Now, because I love talking about it, and because I know some of you disagree with me on this, I think it's time that we explore in depth what makes Golden Wind as good as it is. Buckle up, this will be a longer video. I will provide timestamps and description for the various sections.
Okay, that's helpful.
With that out of the way, sit down, lay back, grab a snack, and listen as I tell you about
please,
the brilliant.
Okay, I gotta pause. He just messed up on some editing.
Yeah.
So what happened was he had the black box over the TV on a long shot, and it was a frame or two where the black box was still in that frame as opposed to the
And you can see right here is sort of like
you can see some edges
a little bit, and he's like, you could have cleaned that up a little bit more, homie.
He seems like a popular YouTuber. This is some This is some basic editing stuff. Again, it's hard to do it with just one guy, and you're making a whole edited video. I'm sure there are times where you're gonna cut corners and just be like, it's good enough.
Yeah, only bums are gonna notice this.
Yeah.
So it's like, whatever, it's good enough. And then the people who are gonna be like, yo, he put the words on the TV. They're not gonna notice this little thing on that frame or two. They're gonna be like, yo, look at this edited. So, whatever.
Whatever.
Of Golden Wind.
Pause. Can I just say that I did not like the areas they visited in JoJo's Part 5? I only say this because he's talking about the stage, and I just found them kind of flat.
Yeah, except for Gently Weeps.
Yeah, there were like 2
White
areas.
Album. Yeah, I like the big river and the bridge. I like that setting. But other than that, Man in the Mirror was just in a rundown arena.
And the thing is, this is going into me personally. I don't care about geography or history, and they're visiting a lot of like historic or touristy Italian areas, and I'm just like, I don't care about these places at all.
But I think he's gonna argue that it is good because of they're visiting Italian places.
Okay,
like, look, you can go for shot like this.
You know what?
And then you can stand there like, yeah, I'm Giorno.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna argue against this until I hear his point, because I was about to argue your point of what his point was gonna be. So let's pause and just see what his point actually is.
JoJo is quite infamous for its uniquely Western appeal. Series author Hiroyuki Araki is widely known to be very familiar with Western pop culture such as music and cinema, and this shines through in some more obvious ways, for example the stand names. However, one thing that sometimes doesn't get mentioned is just how fond Araki seems to be of the West in general, specifically Italy. So much so that he has taken many trips to the boot-shaped country, and even went as far as to include personal holiday pictures from those trips in the art book JoJo A Go-Go from back in 2000.
Yeah, but
And it's
Rocky's just a really weird dude. There's this picture of him in New York just eating a giant slice of pizza. He's like, he's just loving life.
If you're visiting a bunch of places, of course you're gonna take a bunch of pictures, and it makes sense to put pictures of Italy and JoJo since one of the parts took place there. It makes sense.
And these experiences that he referenced when creating the authentic setting of Part 5. As the ancient center of the Roman Empire and the current center of the Catholic Church, Italy is a country filled to the brim with European culture and history. No matter where you are in the country, you're never that far away from some historic site or some remnants or relevant human footprints.
Big so.
And while the gang does indeed never go visit any museums, Araki does pour a lot of his fascination and fondness for the country's history and culture into the setting of Part 5.
Oh, you were correct.
Told you.
Go play Assassin's Creed. Who gives a
8 Mile and It Follows It. They're set in Detroit, and I'm like, yo, Detroit. I'm like, whatever. Except for Detroit Become Human, because that was just a genuine shot.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just like
when they're showing the Woodward bus, that's
and
shocking.
We live here. Why should I care about Italy? I don't give a crap. We're just like, hey, it's Napoli.
It looks just like it. I
don't care. Show me the Woodward bus. I'm like, yo. Show me the Renaissance building. I'm like, yo. But that's about where it goes. I don't have any like deep cultural appreciation for it. And I live in Detroit.
And what's funny is I was watching Don't Breathe. I went with a bunch of people. It was like 6 of us. And they're like, is this in Detroit? And they show one of the street signs. And they're like, wow, this is Detroit. And we're like, wow, that is really Detroit, because it looked dilapidated and everything. And then after that, we didn't talk about it none.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Who cares at that point? I get it. You're going for a historically accurate or a geographically accurate depiction of this setting, but who cares?
From something as monumental as the Colosseum to a tiny detail like the taxistas scamming tourists, the story is filled with these little...
Pause. Taxis scam tourists all the time.
Absolutely.
That's the whole point of cabbies when it comes to tourism. New York is infamous for it.
Yeah.
You got a story of getting scammed by a cabbie.
Oh, boy.
In Texas, I think it was.
It's not unique to Italy.
Yeah, I don't.
You could have picked 2 better things.
No. The
Big and then little, yeah.
But that's not a tiny detail, because that's a detail that is infamous around the world. If you're a tourist, you are a scam trap.
Love letters to Italy and the Italian way of life. And while they seem minor and insignificant at first, they do build up over time and end up lending an incredible level of authenticity and identity to Vento Aureo's depiction of Italy. Thanks to how real, solid, and alive...
Pause. It's not... What? It doesn't.
It feels real, and that's his argument.
But
it feels real because it is places in Italy.
Okay, it's places in Italy, absolutely, but that doesn't make it feel real. Just going, there's places in Italy, and this is Italy food.
I felt that a lot more in Part 3, where they stepped off the plane in India, I think it was, and Abdul was like, India's great. Then everybody started scamming them and taking their wallet and stuff. He's like, it's so great. I felt that a lot more there because they didn't live there, so they had a dude going, this is great because of this. Here's some food, and then you also got the narrator yapping off. But for them, this is just everyday life.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
they're just
it's not as glamorous when they see the arena.
And it's just a bunch of people going to a bunch of places.
If Italy feels, the gang's journey has a real monumental feel to it, like every part of their journey touches a real location. This is for
all of JoJo's touches real locations.
Well, Morio was made up.
Okay.
Other than that, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 7's all about America going through it.
Yeah, I don't understand that point.
He's just glamorizing this stuff.
I think he might also have an appreciation for Italy.
When you consider that even the areas Araki doesn't name specifically exist in real life and even look very similar to their fictional counterparts. Additionally, depicting the culture of Italy in such a subtle yet present way helps contextualize some of the thematic ideas of the part. Italy is a bastion of human culture, a melting pot of humanity's various eras, ideas, and struggles. And it's this culturally rich foundation that Araki uses as a base to continue building a story that touches on inherently human and introspective ideas. And JoJo loves its ideas and themes. Just like in the other parts, this story and its various elements are tied to their themes and ideas incredibly strongly. Though even
this theme of fate,
garbage.
Screw you.
It's gonna be here, and it's prevalent. Because all you got to do is go, here is the theme, and you can mold anything around that.
Yeah.
You can make any story make sense to you and it instantly be good because you go, oh, everything around this dealt with the themes. It was all consistent. The theme is good. It's good.
The theme is about redemption. The theme is about failure. The theme is about revolution. You can fit whatever you want if you just...
If you think about it hard enough, you can mush anything into anything.
This is a great... Because I listened to the Fantasy Focus podcast, and Matthew Berry was telling a story of how he was doing a pilot for a TV show, a fantasy TV show. And he was talking to this former player, and they were both talking about Carson Palmer, quarterback. And the former player liked Carson, and Matthew Berry liked Carson. And then the producer was like, stop, I misread the note. I thought Matthew didn't like Carson. Former player, you don't like Carson now. And the former player was like, okay. And then they retook it, and he, in the same passionate way, said why he didn't like Carson Palmer. And that's the way it goes. You can just change your argument however you want if you have something to go on. You can't just be like, oh, the theme is about flying, because, it's not that. But if you can find two things thematically what it's about, you can just get that.
You can think about it and be like, okay, the theme is about failure, because everybody failed in these ways, and here's how they grew from it.
Part 6.
So it's anything. So that's why I have a big problem with themes. You should just have a good story that stands on its own without mushing in this whole separate concept.
Absolutely.
More so here than in other JoJo parts. Luckily, the part also isn't very subtle with its main theme, at least on surface level. Giorno's speech during the White Album fight essentially spells it out. This story is about resolve, the will to change something because you believe your ambitions and dreams to be just.
Pause.
What did Narancia change? He was a trash boy, and then he got picked up and just went, you're in this gang now. What resolve did he have in that? There was nothing but this dude that walked by and just went, oh, this dude eating out of the trash, come in here and get some spaghetti.
There's a whole fight in part 6 that is completely about resolve. Like, your resolve is not better than mine. And it is much better. Because the way you sound White Album, he goes resolve, blah, blah, blah. Mista shoots him and goes, my resolve is such that I'm going to take these bullets just for a way to kill you. But in the end, he takes a bullet to the head and it means nothing. Nothing. Thanks to Gio.
So how did he rise above that? He took the bullets, but when it came down to it, it didn't matter because he was just saved. Jolene sets herself on fire and just like, bring it on. And she is on fire. You can't reverse on fire. But as soon as he gets shot in the head, it's already reversed. So it means nothing.
As long as Gio is around, your resolve basically means nothing until you are 100% dead.
And even then, you can come back as a zombie.
If we combine this with the overall theme of all of JoJo, being humanity's inherent relation with fate, we see that Vento Aureo is essentially a story about the resolve to oppose fate. At its heart, Golden Wind is a story.
Pause. Isn't that all the JoJo stories technically? Because the fate would be, part one. Oh, I'm destined to be the leader of the world. In part two, and part three, and part four. Just, I'm destined to beat you guys. And over and over and over again.
But none of them looks at the camera and goes, fate, resolve. Except for part 5. So that's why people lean strongly to that more than the other ones.
But you should have some hints of subtlety, like or subtext.
No, how about just having the dudes have a speech about resolve, and how about having the main villain be about fate has chosen me? There you go. There's your 2 themes.
Okay.
Story of a group of brave people coming together and fighting on against the odds of fate for a goal greater than themselves. And while that can be said about other JoJo parts as well, in this story, the idea at the foreground is to overcome whatever holds you back and steel your resolve to achieve a dream you know is righteous and born out of truth.
Can you pause? That's One Piece as well. That's basically any story where there's an opposition.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
Speaking of which, what's the theme of One Piece? Have you ever thought about the word theme and One Piece?
You know what? I haven't actually.
What is it? Freedom?
It's gotta be freedom.
Okay. That's the first time we're ever discussing this.
Because most of the stories are about them liberating an island. And Luffy wants to be the most free. So I gotta assume freedom.
But then it breaks apart when you go, Zoro, he wants to be the strongest. Because he made a promise, not because of freedom or anything. He's not trying to free the world from the tyranny of Mihawk.
Yeah, he's actually kind of chained into his. He can't be nothing.
He has one path.
He can't do nothing but be the strongest.
What if Mihawk has a heart attack? Is there a number 2?
Yeah,
would it be as satisfying for him to beat number 2? Absolutely not. Oh, this is a problem.
You are by default the strongest now.
Yeah.
Central principle penetrates every single aspect of Vento Aureo's story.
No, you didn't just do that face when you said penetrate. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Again, Nanacha. I hope he brings up Nanacha because other than the whole I'm going to set fire to this whole town and cut off his tongue, what else is there? I'm just going to cut off my tongue because I know Giorno can fix it. There's no resolve there. There's no fate there.
There is no danger with Gio.
And he just goes, everybody, I'm just going to set this whole place on fire to kill you. There's no resolve or opposing fate. He's not in danger at all because he can just run away. What? And that's just Narancia. Don't get us started on Fugo. He ain't got no story. He ain't got no resolve.
He lived and he died.
He had one. His stand was so non-prevalent that I've completely forgot about his whole. Oh, he's got a clean freak weird thing that happened because he literally shows up one time. That's all the purple haze. Oh, but we'll do 5 minutes.
That was the end of chapter 1. That was the end.
We're done with Italy. That was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, hooray! Say the word Giorno, please.
While there are many characters and moving pieces to this story, there are two central pillars that hold it together.
Giorno
and Diavolo. And
how when Bruno is the actual JoJo?
He's so much better. He's so much better. Giorno is just so passive.
How can he is not the pillar holding it together?
He just shows up, and then within a week, he's the boss. Bruno's been there for years, just slowly building himself up. He gained to trust the Popo enough that he gave him his riches, and that allowed him to move up. This dude just shows up, and within a week, month, is kissing his ring. Because there's timelines and stuff. People say that Venta Audio takes place within roughly 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Front to back. So he's just no. And please get off that the Killer Queen. Why don't you use something from part 5? Oh, because Killer Queen is infinitely more interesting.
Correct. Kira's still best villain.
Fate and resolve. While we already discussed Diavolo as a character and psychological study in previous videos,
oh no,
I would like
might need to revisit some new.
Oh no,
might need to do some revisiting.
How can you have 2 videos about this dude?
Yeah, I don't. I see he has 0 videos on King Crimson.
Don't say that, because I'm sure that he has one.
Him from a functional aspect within the plot and themes. As the main villain of the story, he presents the main obstacle for the gang to overcome. However, he works a bit differently from your average big bad. Quite often in fiction, villains will be incredibly proactive, usually being the catalyzing force for the story to happen. For example, both Dio Brando and Funny Valentine act according to their ambitions to change something about the environment they find themselves in, and thus
Dio was just like, I want to kill these people, so I'm going to send people to kill these people. He was not proactive, just like Diavolo. Please make this, you show part 1. I see quite clearly that you show part 1, Dio, not part 3. I see what you just did there. Because he had all the ambition and stuff like that. Dio was just like, I'm just going to kill these dudes, and then what? I don't know.
The respective protagonists to react to that. Diavolo, however,
the protagonists have to react to everything.
Every single one. And if anything, Kira's the best. Because he was just like, I'm hiding. And they're like, where is this dude?
Yeah, he had no, he didn't know about the protagonist. There was no underlying gang or anything.
He wasn't after them. He didn't know about them. They just showed up and was just like, oh, you're disrupting my way of life, so I have to kill you now. You're the only people that know about me. Once I kill you, I can continue what I need to do.
If he hadn't left that button and they never found Kira, Kira would still just be being Kira. He didn't need them, and the heroes didn't need Kira. It just so happened that fate, quote unquote, they mixed together. It's like, oh, we have to stop this guy. Because everybody thought the first villain was the main villain until he was just disposed of quickly. And it's like,
oh, there's 20 more episodes.
Who's left? And then this girl just pulls Rohan into a little, there's this killer out there. Find him.
And then to the point where they was just like, let the police handle that.
They haven't been able to.
Okay, well, does he have a stand? So otherwise, we could get the Speedwagon Foundation on that. Otherwise, just let the police handle it. It ain't our problem.
It's not our problem. That's the whole thing of part 4. Until they're like, oh no, this is our problem.
It's our problem now.
And we gotta do something about this.
Is the exact opposite. He doesn't want to change or achieve anything because he already has most of what he wants.
He wants the arrow.
Similarly to Kira, he is already in the position he desires, and all he really wants is to maintain that position. And while that does make him a lot more passive and reactionary than other villains.
So, you mentioned 2 people that aren't like Dio, whatever, I call him
Diavolo, either way.
I say Dia.
That's
to differentiate him.
Yeah, I like that. Dio and Dia.
Yeah, you pick two people that aren't like Dia, and then you pick Dia and someone that's like Dia. So you have two villains that are active and two villains that are passive.
But then also, if you go to part 6, the priest was both active and passive.
Absolutely.
So what are you talking about? He's so unique.
Villains in the series, especially in the first half, it works wonders in making him feel like a true obstacle. He is the status quo.
The obstacle is not Dia. The obstacle is the people that are in front of them to get to Dia.
Absolutely. He was basically a friendly person up until the point that he punched Bruno. It was them fighting the people who opposed Diavolo. He had nothing to do with that. So up until the halfway point, he was a non-entity in this story, other than the fact that he's selling drugs to children.
Matter of fact, in the first half, it was people trying to get the money that Bruno knew about. It wasn't even like Dia's like, go investigate what they're doing.
Absolutely
It was
not.
like, hey, we know that these people are going for this money. Let's try to get this money so we can move up.
And that's all. It had nothing to do with Diavolo.
Nothing
Up
to
until
do
the
with
point
Dia.
where he punched him, and then it was just like, I'm gonna throw people at him to kill them, just like Dio.
Fate. He is reality. He doesn't need to be proactive
He
because
is
the
reality.
world around him has already bent to his will. Fate has already...
No, they didn't bend to his will, because even the people that were trying to get the money from Bruno, a couple of them were like, we're trying to find Dia to stop him or to kill him because he wiped out our friend.
Yes.
So there were already a bunch of people in his gang trying to oppose him. Not everybody had already bended knee. They fakely bended knee so they could stab him in the balls.
He's looking at the stuff that supports his view and not looking at the stuff that doesn't.
Which, fine, but at the same time, come on.
It's not a good way to look at it because there's holes that can be poked into this. He's so unique. Well, here's 4 people that are exactly like him.
the victor, according to him. He isn't an evil force trying to derail society. He is an evil force that has already forced society under his heel. And that is clearly an intended idea, as Araki spends a lot of time just establishing how dangerous, powerful, and nigh on invincible Diavolo is.
Pause.
And
No, he didn't. He did that when he showed up, and then they basically didn't talk about him until he was right in front of them. He didn't spend so much time. He spent an arc, which was the mystery of King Crimson, and then the end, because that was the only times that we saw him. There wasn't a whole...
while yes, he does approach most main villains like this, there is a lot more emphasis on the terror that Diavolo inspires.
How? Why? How? Why? What?
The first time that you see Kira, it's terrible. Because you're just like...
Before
boom.
you even know he has a stand, he's licking the fingers of a corpse hand.
He is not his stand. He is him, and his stand is also terrifying. Diavolo is his stand.
You could have put that stand on anybody, and it would have been just as terrible.
But Kira is like, I want to dispose of people without a trace, and this is perfect.
Specifically. For example, out of all the villains, he's the one we know and see the least of, his real appearance only being present in a handful of chapters. Additionally, his backstory is kept purposefully confusing and contradictory. All in all, this is all...
What's Kira's backstory? He was a kid, he got a lot of third places, and then he started killing
On
people.
purpose. So he wouldn't stand out.
So what does it matter? What's the priest? He met Dio, and he fell in love with him. Why are we talking about backstories when it's such a non-entity? He was born, he killed a bunch of people, and then he became a drug man. Why does that make him interesting?
Same reason it makes Joker interesting. The mystery of the story.
of making him less of a character and more of a malicious, power-hungry force of nature.
How is he power hungry if he already has everything he wants?
You just said that.
What more
What
power?
more? He wants the arrow just to be like, I want to be even more unstoppable. But you're already incredibly unstoppable. So that's about the only way that I can see is just the arrow. But he didn't even know about the arrow until they went the arrow, though. And he went, oh, yo, what?
If he would have sat down and just been on his throne, there's nothing more for him to gain. Nothing more.
He doesn't really have a past. He basically has no defined form. He simply exists and twists the reality around him to obey his commands.
What are you talking about?
But Kira does that as well. Shinjeki could have easily just been like, hey, there's this blonde dude out there killing people. But he bent that to his will.
In terms of the story, one could see him as a stand-in for the deterministic, unchangeable nature of fate and its inevitability, a destiny of stone against which all resistance is nigh on futile. Which is ironic, considering that Diavolo only has this position thanks to his ability to, quote-unquote, change fate. He constantly strives to better himself and, as he puts it, defeat the weaker past versions of himself. Additionally, armed with his stand King Crimson, his ability to foresee fate and then twist it according to his desires is a perverted and half-assed version of the main theme, the resolve to change fate. What's interesting here is that he doesn't technically change it per se. As Diavolo says a few times, the vision's epitaph produces are absolute and unchangeable. And that holds somewhat true. Even with King Crimson, he never actually changes what he sees in the vision, at least not completely. He merely erases the time that troubles him and positions himself such that he will still come out on top. And while that is effective, he essentially skips past all of the hard work and resolve that would usually be necessary to change one's fate.
Pause. What?
I don't understand.
So in those 7 seconds, he can change his fate. What? He's skipping past the hard work and resolve to change your fate. But in seeing the changing of fate, he can move around it and change his fate. He's changing fate by seeing fate and moving.
What do you see resolve as? Because I think he's seeing resolve as if you're willing to hurt yourself for your goal.
Let's just muddle that down to sacrifice.
Okay.
Because you don't have to set your straight. Because again, Bruno, throw the turtle, Narancia, and die. And Narancia like, sure thing, boss. So I don't think. What is his definition of resolve? I don't. That he probably should have defined that early.
And as the single most important scene in this part tells us, if you only desire the result without putting in the work, you will never reach the truth.
He is putting in work. He's activating King Crimson at a point in time that is most beneficial for him. He has reactionary time such that when Bruno punches him in the face, he stops time. He skips through time and goes, "Well, that was close. He could have punched me in the face." He's doing these things.
And you don't think he had resolve in that final fight? Right, you know what?
Lose sight of what matters if you only ever concern yourself with the results of your actions and not your actions themselves. And even though Diavolo never met Abbacchio's partner, I am sure that after his final humiliation, he would have agreed with him. Whereas our villain represents a twisted, perverted take on the part's main theme, our protagonist embodies its purest form.
Yeah.
Giorno Giovanna, while often being described as bland or boring, actually does a lot for this story.
Oh
My
goodness. Okay. Your thing, boss.
You know why he does a lot for the story? He's like that freaking Looney Tunes cartoon where Bugs is drawing stuff around Daffy. Mm-hmm. That's basically what Geo is. Geo goes, "Here's a bullet."
Basically. What can you do when it goes, the bullet turned into a tree, the tree turned back into a bullet, ricocheted off of something and shot somebody in the head? Great. That's smart.
That's what doing a lot for the story is doing. Hey, he's writing out in front of the characters. Why are some of y'all pruning up and getting older quicker?
Narancia, are you okay? You seem to be lying. I've known you for 3 days, and these people have known you for years, but I'm noticing this.
Narancia goes, Gio will figure this out. Not my friends. Gio.
Not the literal zombie who's walking around because of his unbelievable resolve, but this dude. This literal dude.
Any of the JoJo protagonists, Giorno is perhaps the most proactive protagonist the series has seen thus far, only being rivaled by Part 7's Johnny Joestar.
What? So we're just skipping all over Part 6.
What?
Are you serious? There were maybe 3 confrontations that she was not part of.
The most proactive. Okay, we need to figure out what he means.
Yeah, you know what? You were already getting mad about it.
To start attacking it. I need to know what he means.
He has a very clear and motivated goal in mind and pursues it from the
All right, wait, go ahead and pursues it from the beginning, I'm assuming.
very beginning of the story of his own accord.
Okay.
Rise to the top of the mob and fix the problems of Italy, specifically the drug trade.
Pause.
He wants
Sure. Absolutely. He has a goal from the very beginning. Part 1, he doesn't have one. Part 2, he doesn't have one. They're basically just going through. Jotaro! The mission starts with my mom. No, the mission starts with Dio's back. Let's go kill Dio. And then it becomes your mom. And it's just like, okay, they're linked, so let's do this. From the beginning, episode, what, like 2? Okay, he starts looking at the camera going, I have a dream, drugs though. That's fine. Are we saying that an episode or 2, if you're going, oh, it's only rivaled by Johnny, it took a while for him to be going like, oh, I want to learn to spin. He didn't have that going into it. So what do you say? You've already... This dude is just really focusing in on what he wants to notice.
to save and inspire the same way he was saved and inspired himself. Yet his resolve and dream are not naive. He understands...
Pause! As soon as Josuke's granddad died, he went, protect this town.
Yes.
That was his whole mission.
He was like, I can't ignore this.
So we're looking at 5 JoJo's at least? And you're going only Giorno.
that with the way the world is at the time, the official and lawful organs of his country will never be able to provide on that level.
Please
at
take
least
Giorno
not
off the
without
screen.
massive changes. And so he sets out to achieve his dream in the illegal, but not much easier way, infiltrating and taking over La Passione, the enormous and unrivaled mafia network that rules over Italy. This setup reveals and later develops something incredibly central.
I'm pausing. From day one, Bruno was the same way, but he had more of a reason for it.
Drug stabbed my dad. Directly. He has old women coming up going, my grandkids on drugs. I thought you were going to be doing something about this. He's got his own little mile area that he needs to protect. Plus the drugs thing stabbing his dad. This dude is just like, there's some random nebulous kids out there who are on drugs, and I don't want that. As opposed to seeing someone directly going, I'm being affected. Please help me, Bruno.
Giorno embodies absolute resolve. His goal...
Oh my Jesus! Jolene was so much more resolve heavy.
Absolutely.
And you can't sit there and tell me she's not. Because Gio, his resolve was, okay, maybe I'll stab myself in the chest, but I can fix that.
That's fine. Whatever.
Oh yeah, you guys go through all of that, because I can fix you.
You had that up for Foo Fighters, but once she died, it's like, okay, now what? With the underground fight, where it's just like kids are being thrown into this boy. Uh-oh, what are we going to do to solve this? We can live and kill these kids, or we can die and create a whole bunch of new problems. Or there's another option.
And they said killing the kids is not the option.
It's not the option. So that's automatically off the table.
So find another way to save ourselves or die. Those were the only two options. And dying wasn't an option. So find a way to save yourself.
My goodness.
Are clear to him, and he's willing to basically do anything to achieve them. But because he's
Basically all JoJo's are.
How many times did Joseph go, well, I guess I'm about to die here. He bluffed out gods. He's just, either this bluff is gonna work or I'm dead right here and now. He goes, oh, I'm crashing this plane and I'm gonna die. Well, I'm jumping into the volcano and I'm just dead now. What are you talking about? At the end of part 1, Jonathan's thing was, in this order, crash this boat to stop these zombies, save Arena, and die. That was his plan. He was like, I've got 0.2% Hamon left, so I'm gonna get Wang Chung. Arena's gonna be safe. Death.
Jolene goes, you are our hope. I'm gonna hold him off for 3 seconds.
Not even 3 seconds. I'm going to be the smallest pebble on the road for him. Maybe he'll trip over me and be stumbled for 0.5 seconds. Use that 0.5 seconds.
Cause I'm just gonna die now.
Here we go.
My goal right now is to save you so you can find a way. Cause I'm dead.
I am dead. I'm going to die. That's my plan. That's Jonathan's plan. That was Joseph's plan.
I'm going to die. That
to
was the
stop
plan.
You. I don't think he's ever had that moment. My throat got ripped out. Replaced. He wasn't like, all right, I'm just going to blind you with my blood and I'm going to bleed out. No. He's like, well, I'm just going to fix it now. Bruno, Bruno, in the Beach Boy fight, he goes, well, it's time for both of us to just hop off this train and die.
The team continues.
The team continues. You die. Grateful Dead stops, and we only got you to deal with. Come on, get on off this train. Let's crash into this pipe. What are you talking about? Hayato went, he's a bomb. I'ma touch him. Can you fix me? Let's find out. That was a boy. His whole thing, he went, I know how to stop this muff and bites the dust. And it's this box cutter. And it's this throat. Here we go. What are you talking about? I'm gonna save these people I don't know.
His whole thing was, I don't even know these people, but they cannot die.
I don't know these people. I can't give them any hints. I'ma die and hopefully they can figure this out. Because I'm not leaving any hints or anything. I'm just dying. And this dude already still has this unstoppable stand. So, plan A, die.
A1, die.
Die. What resolve?
Parts Jonathan and Dio, he doesn't shy away
Shut
from
up!
having to use amoral and illegal ways to do it. In fact, that simply doesn't matter. He knows his goal is, ultimately, just and righteous, so much so that the way of achieving it only has to consist of hard work and effort, regardless of its morality or legality. This belief and idea is the central nucleus of who Giorno Giovanna is, and it determines his position in the story. Giorno essentially becomes a guiding light for the other characters, a beacon of resolve that inspires and motivates those around him to follow suit.
All the JoJos do this!
Absolutely.
All the JoJos do this!
Speedwagon goes, there's no way to stop this dude. And then he does, and he just goes, whoop, this dude. He punches Speedwagon, and like, he could have killed me, but he didn't. This dude is such a good dude. They spoke maybe a word to each other. Not even ignoring that. This dude is a zombie, a vampire. He can't be stopped. He can't be killed. Oh, we killed him? Word? And then after that, just like, what? We got to do it again. I don't know Hamon. I don't know nothing about what's going on. I'ma still follow you because I got this sledgehammer. What was he doing there? Nothing. But he just went, I want to see this play out. And that's just part one. We can pause. What happened with Caesar? He gave his final Hamon to Joseph.
Yeah.
He could have gave it to Lisa, his teacher, the person with an abundance of Hamon. But no, he went, I'ma die, give my Hamon to this dude, and give him the ring. What are you talking about? Do we need to keep going with these parts? Man, he's just ignoring all of this.
Only Gio.
The mission wholeheartedly. While many characters in the story often have their own motivations and ideals, it's Giorno that catalyzes them into action. And here, we see an...
That's a bad character. That means every other character is just
just emotionless, just no motivation until he goes, have some motivation.
Basically, they're puppets and he's a puppet master. It's just like, you guys aren't doing nothing until here you go. Here's my fingers wagging. Do something. Thank you, Gio. Thank you. Now we can do something.
Hey, solve this boat problem. Yeah, we should solve this boat problem. Why didn't we think of that?
Dude with 197 IQ. Not thinking of nothing.
Nothing. But
Till Gio say something.
But this street trash does. Because the story is just molding around him to make him the biggest, best, smartest dude in the room at all times. He always has a plan. He always has the solution. He's never worried. Hey, why are we getting older? Oh, you know what? We didn't even think about that. We're just big dumb monkeys just like shoot, kill, bang, dead.
100 and some IQ.
Inversion of the usual formula. In many stories, the antagonist will be a force outside of the norm and will act in an attempt to bend their environment and situation towards a new status that they deem favorable. The protagonistic force will then react to that and defend order / justice / freedom or whatever. However, here it's the other way around. The antagonistic force, Diavolo, is the norm and resides in a situation that he doesn't need to change.
No, he's not. He made it the norm.
Yes, he made the bad society the norm. Basically, the villain won. So let's look at it like Lex Luthor and Superman. If Lex Luthor won, which he did in the story, he turned Superman and Batman bad. So the norm is those heroes are villains, and the villains, the heroes, Superman and Batman, have to defend that and fight for justice to return the norm. The norm just now is because he won.
Hey, let's keep it in JoJo's. The norm of part 4 is there is a killer in this town. What are we gonna do about it? Whatever. Then they gotta go fix it. You legit are just ignoring things, and I can't stand it.
Meanwhile, our protagonist Giorno acts in order to upheave the status quo, which then forces Diavolo to react. And obviously, just doing
that's Kira!
That is Kira.
He was on his straight and narrow just killing people. They interrupt that, and then he just goes, I've got to kill these people, and then go back to the straight and narrow. What are you talking about?
Okay, so if Dio would have won, things would have changed. If Kira wins, nothing changes.
Nothing. He doesn't go, now I'm going to go rule the world. No, it's just like, I'm going to kill this lady, I'm going to kill this kid, and I'm just going to go back to what I was doing.
Differently doesn't inherently make it better, but I do think that this inversion creates an interesting situation in combination with the oppressive, unnerving aspects of Diavolo we already mentioned.
We done there? Oh, yep.
Yep. Hey. There were no other characters. Just those two.